Miami, hi.
Hi, Juliana. How are you?
Thank you for being on the program. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I didn't want to let gun violence slip off the radar. I mean, there's a lot to talk about these days. We've got California's on fire. We've got 15, 20,000 hurricanes coming at us at rapid fire. There's
Yes.
a pandemic. Trump is sitting on his hands telling white people to get guns. So we got a lot to fight. And guns are involved in that last one for sure. But also September is Suicide Prevention Month. And with everything that's coming our way, it can be difficult not to get tunnel vision as we try to fight all these battles. We definitely want to be taking a step back and understand how all these issues impact mental health and how the fight for gun sense is critical in fighting, more national tragedy. Gun violence prevention advocate Miami Knight, right here with me, here to talk about her story with gun violence and how to join the fight. Miami Knight is a gun violence prevention advocate. It's weird to be talking about you while you are sitting right here, literally, Zoom next to me, but here we are. You serve as a volunteer with Moms Demand Action, a group that we often give a lot of coverage to here on act.tv. Miami, you're also a certified grief specialist with a specialty in bereavement recovery and a master grief coaching. You authored The Key Process, a grief guide to mastering spiritual healing, and you're also the host of Grief Talk on It's the Miami Knight Show. Welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here with you.
So your connection to gun safety advocacy is very personal. Can you talk about your son's story and how it propelled you into this work?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. On December 27th, on December 17th of 2011, my son and his best friend was shot due to an incident involving two individuals that just happened to get in their car and shoot both of them. Miraculously, my son survived. I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. I said Jesus.
Oh yeah. My son did survive. His best friend was killed, and that was a very difficult time for our family. His name is Taiki. We also call him Mr. Slug Mode. He was an amazing lyricist. And at the time, after this happened to our family, we were devastated. We didn't know, as a parent for the mother that lost her son, I didn't even know how to approach her when my son lived. So it was a difficult time. It was difficult for Taiki to, come back from not being able to walk, talk. He was in so many different type of therapies. But
the gunshot that he took caused a lot PTSD, depression, anxiety, you name it. It was all there. And just the significance of the loss of his best friend that he'd known for 15 years. They were like they were born 2 days apart. So that was just very hard for him. And the survivor guilt is really what was, along with other things as well, was, a big contributing part to the gun suicide when he died in January of 2017. I'm so sorry.
Thank you.
This month is Suicide Prevention Month. Can you talk about why gun sense advocacy is such an important piece of suicide awareness? Although I think we might have skipped it. I guess I just assumed that obviously that propelled you into work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Throughout this pandemic, we have seen a rise in suicide prevention lifelines across the country. I was actually working for the Georgia COVID-19 emotional support line, and the calls that were just coming in, it was just so surprising and shocking that even though I know I'm a part of this, just to still see how people are suffering, just simply from, gun suicide and it being a public health crisis, and that it claims over 23,000 people a year in America alone. Mm-hmm. And by addressing this crisis, it's critical. If you're going to address gun violence at all, we know that the ongoing pandemic and the surge of gun sales that when the pandemic initially first started, and how severe that the economic downturn caused people to feel uneasy. And all of that played even a role when my son was living. He had to now be on disability. $700 a month wasn't enough for him. It was just all these things that, the life change, that when people now, of course, don't know how to process grief and move forward. And it leads to things that can sometimes, make them be out of control. So I just think that we really need to get more involved and try to understand, what can we do to help our community in regards to gun violence and gun suicide. Because you can't talk about one without the other.
I think this is so important, because usually when people talk about gun violence these days and wanting to restrict guns on the streets, the availability of guns, etc., that conversation seems to only come up when there's either a mass shooting, a school shooting, or a post office shoot. It doesn't really come up in the public square of talk in the mainstream media until one of those things happens. But so much of the violence is suicide. Can you talk about your efforts to get that message out there?
Oh, absolutely. Well, the suicide prevention since it's Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, Moms Demand Action is raising awareness, to fight for more common sense methods to prevent gun suicide, including, the extreme risk laws and securing storage laws and providing more resources to prevent the tragedies in our communities. That's what our fight is.
Do you believe if those laws were in place, the original incident may have been prevented or at least slowed in some way when your son and his friend were shot?
I do believe that, because even as a mother, and knowing that what my son experienced, I do believe if I knew and had the education and the knowledge that I know now in trying to, help Tyke through his process of all the things that he was, surrounded with and dealing with on a day-to-day basis, and just knowing, when I was raising my children, I didn't know to go and ask individuals, hey, if my children are staying the night at your house, are your guns secured? Are they locked away?
I'm terrified to let my own kid out of the house.
Right. So I didn't know that, but the education and the data, that we're seeing helps me to understand and to encourage others to have the conversations, because I just didn't know how to have those conversations because we didn't talk about it.
You recently wrote about how suicide is usually seen as older and whiter and more rural. Why do you think that is? And how can we bring awareness to how suicide impacts communities of color?
Well, just simply the data is what has shown us over the years that has been, that was more common in that community. But data is coming out more so now that it's on a rise, with our young adults and in the Black communities and in, other communities like the Pacific Islander community. Suicide is there's so much increase with Alaskan Americans and, the Indians. So with the data that we're being able to see is how we're coming to understand that, it's happening more in our communities. It's just that it hadn't been talked about. And suicide is a disenfranchised grief. We don't talk about it. It's stigmatized. It's hard to, even say, or, it's a uncommon,
because religions tell you that it's you're going to hell if that happens.
Absolutely.
I don't know. My God is a loving God and would understand. I think maybe it's, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, we just didn't know how to talk about it, and we don't know how to talk about it. So now that there's more research and we have, these great organizations like Everytown and Moms Demand Action, giving us the ability to see in the inside of what data looks like and teaching us, how to learn more about it and to share the information and the resources with others so that they can learn about it. And then we can have these open conversations like we're doing right now.
I do want to say that I wanted to book someone to discuss gun safety and gun sense and gun policy. And I'm glad you're the one we got. But we didn't do it because it was Suicide Prevention Month. We just did it. So I'm glad that you're able to be here at this time when this is kind of coming to the to the forefront. Can you talk about the importance of having elected officials who are committed to gun sense legislation, even especially at the local level?
Yes, absolutely. And I know I keep talking about the coronavirus and what the,
Well,
the
here we are.
pandemic, because we're here. But,
Mhm.
the gun safety movement has never been stronger than or larger than it is today. So in 2020, we will not let, and we have not stopped, just because the coronavirus exists. We are going to make Joe Biden our next president, by protecting and electing gun sense, the majority in Congress and state legislators and gun sense candidates up and down the ballot. That's just what we've committed ourselves to.
Mm, mm. Well, excellent. I think that's super important. I mean, just having a local officials held to task about gun sense seems good, because those local and lower position officials eventually climb up the ranks.
Yeah.
So you want to
But
hold those people.
here's the thing, over 90% of Americans, including gun owners and members of both parties, we all agree that we need to take action, to reduce gun violence. So, we're here. We can do this.
Mm, Have you seen you're in Georgia? Are
Georgia.
you in Georgia? Yes. Oh, we just talked about Georgia, right? There's something terrible happening in Georgia that has nothing to do with this, but still. And I love Georgia, to be honest. I've been down there many times. I have a good friend down there, and it's quite a stunning place to live.
Yeah.
But it does have a lot of red and gun lovers.
Yeah.
When you're fighting that fight on the local level, can you talk about your experiences there, and if there's anything that you would want people to know?
Well, I just really feel as though, even though that we're in Georgia and Georgia has, exactly what you said, a lot of gun lovers, and we're not here to debate that, you have the right to, own your gun. We just want them in the hands of responsible people that own guns, and to make sure that they don't fall in the hands of people that may be in some type of crisis.
Which is everyone right now, because
Absolutely.
I mean, really,
right.
who isn't in some type of crisis other than the 1% right now?
Right. We can, the one thing that I want to make sure that people understand is that we can potentially save lives by just implementing the policies and limit easy, immediate access to, to lethal means of a weapon to cause harm to themselves or others. So we want to be in this fight to save lives, but not to necessarily take, away your right to be a responsible gun owner. Mm-hmm. So we're just here to just, advocate into saving lives and to helping others, find their way back, because like you just stated earlier, we're all, having these feelings of, social isolation or just, because of the economic downturn or what's happening here in America, all over the world. And but we're here really to just ultimately make sure that we can make sure that people understand that putting policies in action to help save lives is the most important thing to us.
Have you noticed in your movement that a multiracial, multicultural, is it a multiracial, multicultural movement, every town, and then the groups that you work in?
Yes, it is. And it's a beautiful thing to see that we are all coming together, no matter, love is love. And I think that, understanding each other's culture and just seeing the diversity over all the things that have happened, since COVID, the social injustices, just being able to see that we're all coming together for the means of just, being good to each other. It's important.
Is your experience that there are people who are for gun sense who are on both sides of the aisle?
I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry. Can you say that again?
Is your experience that people you are involved in with Everytown and the other groups, are they on both sides of the political aisle?
Yeah. Yes. And we saw that initially.
That's refreshing.
I saw that initially, when we were both when the Democratic presidency first started, not the presidency, but I'm sorry, excuse me, let me get this right. When all of the candidates were coming
Oh, yeah.
for initially.
Right.
Excuse me, that's what I'm trying to say.
Primaries.
Yeah, the primaries. When that's, we saw a lot of that. A lot of division, within the groups. But yet, I feel like as we came together, once we finally, found the candidate that was the best fit, we all kind of got back together. But I mean, what's wrong with a little, division here and there, just to, get us all on the right track of where we need to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Do you believe that Joe Biden would be the best candidate in terms of gun sense and gun safety?
I do believe so. If you look back at his background and who all is also standing with him, and just the work that he's done, in the Obama presidency, I think that he's a great candidate for right now, because Joe has a heart, first and foremost, and he has had struggles with loss, and I know when
no, I feel like that's enough. We got a crazy. Sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Got, a narcissist sociopath who doesn't mind having 240,000 people die. He's like, oh, that means it's a success. We're good. We're good. And Joe, who lost his wife, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think sometimes when he lost his son, or his wife and his, all of the different, aspects of his life of dealing with loss, because first of all, grief is a mental suffering, of course, of distress, of some type of affliction that we lost, and that kind of takes and puts us in a whole different paradigm when you had to experience such grievance and loss, and I think that just made him a better person, and who he has become over the years of his loss. And I think he's a good candidate because he really cares for the people and he wants to make a difference. And he's been doing that for years. So I'm just glad to see that he's on the ticket.
And Kamala Harris.
Of course. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
act.tv is in a network of groups. One of them is a Vote Pro-Choice group, and that group encourages people to ask even the local dog catcher what their views on reproductive rights are, and to press that person on their views for reproductive rights. Would you suggest that we ask the local dog catcher elections all the way down to kind of the lowest elections, school board, what their views are on gun safety as a means to keep it in the front of people's minds?
Yes. Having to talk about it, no matter what the audience is, I think it's imperative and very important to just hear from the people, just to see how they feel. That's the only way. That's how we understand through the data and the data of, what side part, a person is on, and, what can we do to reach across the aisles to maybe, help persuade or get them to understand why we are truly here. So, yeah, I think that we should.
And can you talk a little bit about 988? I was reading a little bit about it. I had never heard of it.
Yeah. Well, actually, 988, it's a health crisis line. So that kind of, very similar to 911. And it's a place where individuals can call that are in crisis. And it actually help us to be able to give the means to people that really needs to have quick access, because by having a 12, not to say that a 12-digit number will not make any difference.
You're not going to remember.
Right, that's so true. But
especially if you're in like emotional crisis, you're like, is it 6142 or is it?
Absolutely. But I do truly believe that 988 will help individuals that really do need quick access and means to be able to get through whatever that thing that they're having difficult with during their crisis time.
It's not necessarily a suicide hotline, but it can be any kind of crisis hotline in terms of feelings, mental.
Absolutely. Any type of emotional support.
How long has it been out there?
Well, actually, they just signed it into law, so it's not there. I wish I had more of the information to support.
No, that's okay. This is very exciting that this is going to be a thing. How is this not all over the TV? I guess because California's on fire. They got to choose a precedence, but
right. But we just have to remember that, hey, it's out there. It's we're still working towards enacting it into law. So we still have some more work to do around it, but it's coming. So
okay, I think that's wonderful because 911, everybody knows that number, and then that actually, you have a lot of people who call 911 and get cops to come when there's an emotional issue. And then we've seen how that doesn't work out because cops are not trained to deal with this kind of thing. So,
right.
Having a number that everyone can remember, 988, seems like a way to elevate the fact that emotional emergencies deserve the same kind of
absolutely,
help as say, a broken leg or something, theft, whatever it is that people call 911 for, car accidents. This is good. How can our viewers get involved in gun sense legislation and suicide prevention this month? What would you suggest for people to do?
Well, actually, they can join moms or any
you don't have to be a mom or even
you don't have to be a mom. We have men enough to be a mom. So, so yes, join Moms Demand Action you can end up texting us or getting on our website, momsdemandaction.org. You can join Everytown for Gun Safety. Just getting involved with any type of organization, mainly moms and our Everytown, to support us in our efforts of learning and educating and getting people to understand that we are here to make a difference. We want to definitely get those laws passed that will support us with, safety storage and the extreme risk laws. So just joining moms or any of the organizations that are out there for the gun violence prevention movement.
We're speaking with Miami Knight, gun violence prevention advocate, a volunteer with Moms Demand Action, and a master grief coach. I would highly suggest finding the podcast wherever you can find podcasts. It's the Miami Knight Show is what the show is called. There's a section called Grief Talk, and you could, where do people find that? Like everywhere there's podcasts, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm on YouTube. I am on SoundCloud. My website is Miami Knight LLC.
It's Knight with a K, as you can see
Knight with
from
K.
the thing right underneath her face.
Yes, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much, Miami, for coming on, for helping bring this, information out to the people. If people can call their representatives and say that, yes, we would like that 998 bill to be pushed forward, I think that's something people can go and do right now as they're making their daily calls to push our electeds to do the right thing. Follow Miami on Twitter, Miami Knight, KNIGHT LLC on Twitter. Miami, final thoughts?
Yes. Please, if there is someone or if you are someone that is in crisis, please contact the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is a national network of local crisis counselors that provides, free, confidential emotional support to people in suicidal crisis. And that number is 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-TALK. Or you can also text home to 741-741. And if you want to join Moms Demand Action, please text to 6433 join 6433 join.
I did that last time when Shannon was on. I'm like, I gotta get on my phone. What the heck? What is it? What is the text again?
64433 64433
to join Moms Demand Action.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Miami. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I look forward to talking to you again in the future, and I'm glad our lives have intertwined in this way.
Yes, absolutely. Have a great day.
You too. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. We bring you this kind of talk Monday through Thursday, and then there's all other kinds of talk on all the other days. I'm Julianna Forlano. You can find me right here on act.tv. And also on Twitter at Julianna Forlano and cross platforms wherever Julianna Forlanos can be found. But you can definitely follow act.tv because we're working hard to combat some of this right-wing narrative that is sucking up your aunts and uncles and relatives. I heard a story on Thom Hartmann yesterday, the Thom Hartmann program, which I highly recommend as well, that talked about, a mother like is being estranged from her kids because the kids voted for Hillary and the mother said they were baby killers. I mean, this stuff is really, a QAnon mom. So we got problems here in our country with these splits. So we're hoping we can be supportive to you, useful to you. Thank you to everyone who is on Twitch today. That's the end of our broadcast. Next week, we'll have a whole slate of new people to talk about. Hopefully we all make it into next week. It's a crazy world. Have a blessed weekend. We'll catch you next week.